This video is actually a response to Amos Yee's YouTube video about Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. So I actually wrote a status yesterday on my Facebook page about this matter. I used more than an hour and this is a very lengthy post. So why did I actually decide to make this video? It's because I want to reach out to more Singaporeans, especially to those who actually agreed with him. Okay, so after this video you may actually change your mindset or you actually may not. So here's what I have to say, and why I chose to do it after yesterday is also because I respect Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. I want to post this video after the state funeral. Yes, so this is what I actually wrote, and I'll actually add a few points. This status, in this case, this video, is a response to Amos Yee's YouTube video about Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. Firstly, I'd like to say that you are an eloquent speaker who has a good command of English. I'm impressed by your confidence and your boldness to be able to say all those you mentioned in the video. There were some points that maybe people would agree or so, but I personally would love to rebut you in everything. In Singapore, there are definitely Lee Kuan Yew haters, and this is not the first post that I have read about the so-called bad stuff that Lee Kuan Yew have done, or saying that his death was great or so. But I have a question for all of you guys, including the girl who actually posted the rude Instagram post. Why during this period? Why didn't you guys raise all these points when he was alive? During the period of mourning, when Singaporeans are sad, you chose to agitate them this way by saying disrespectful things and lots of vulgarities, including calling our Prime Minister a MF. Any idea that you could be sued for defamation? And I think you're taking your freedom of speech for granted. And no, this is not your reason. The first thing I would love to ask is, what makes you think that Lee Kuan Yew wants to tell the world that he is democratic? Are you his family? Did anyone tell you? No? Is there actually concrete evidence? No? And I definitely don't think that by suing people who criticize you is a form of being notorious. In that case, those people actually criticize Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, and they should be prepared to accept the consequences for what they have said. Words said cannot be taken back. And I agreed with his actions because those allegations are not true at all. A man should always be responsible for his or her own actions. Regarding the voting rights, I don't think Lee Kuan Yew has ways to force people to vote for him. We are given the freedom to vote because we are citizens who are living in Singapore, and we should decide which party should be the one helping us, taking care of us, etc. Everyone has a choice, but at the end of the day, whether we get the voting rights or not, there will be a fraction of people who are unhappy, just like you, Amos Yee. And then when you compare Mr. Lee Kuan Yew to Jesus Christ, firstly, I do not see any links of how the supporters of Mr. Lee Kuan Yew can be aligned with one's religion. There was only one card you had in the video. Did you yourself go to the wake to see how many Christians or condolences card that had God bless you on? And I don't know why you are saying that Jesus Christ is someone who is power hungry, malicious, and love to deceive people to think that they are compassionate, kind, and more. What do you actually base all these on? Do you know Jesus Christ himself? Do you know Mr. Lee Kuan Yew himself? And if you say that their legacy will not last, you are actually wrong, because there are tons of believers of Jesus Christ outside of Singapore and has actually existed since 2000 years ago. And tons of people who are actually thankful for what Mr. Lee had done. Would I call you an ungrateful person? Definitely yes. Although you were not in the generation that actually witnessed all the changes, there are actually some things in your life that you can actually do, see, or use that is because of Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. And nope, I do not agree that Lee Kuan Yew's followers, or I would say the fellow ministers, people working for political parties, are delusional, ignorant, and no logic. Because, number one, they definitely went through a lot of education to be able to be who they are today. And number two, they contributed to the country by helping out to carry the task that Mr. Lee wants the country to achieve. So I suggest that you keep all these words for yourself. I do agree that there are actually Singaporeans who are actually struggling to make ends meet, and we have the longest working hours. And yet we are the richest country in the world, as you mentioned, and our poverty rate is very high. You claim that Singapore has not invested much in healthcare and social security, but do you know that there are actually help given to those who are poor? I do not know whether if you are born with a silver spoon and you have actually led a carefree life without having to worry how much do you need to save in order to survive for the month, to have food to eat. Did you? Why do we all need to work so hard? It's because we are just a little red dot. Singapore, having a population close to 6 million, is a lot. Compared to a province in China, we probably have lesser people than them, but a country that is smaller. If we don't work hard, who will work for us? As for the poverty rates, I see many poor people around. There are even poor people who resort to begging money, selling tissues, and majority of them are old people. And when there are news that, they need to actually pay $120 in order to sell tissue paper, I was really angry. And I actually scolded the government, so and so. I actually wrote a very lengthy Facebook post again because I was angry. But then again, I realized it was actually a good strategy to minimize the amount of people who are actually doing that. One thing I realized why those old people have to resort to begging, selling tissues, is because that their family abandoned them. I actually asked a few myself. They're old, penniless, and some of them did not receive education at all, and they can't do much. They were forced by their circumstances, but I believe that there is always a way out. That is why the government mentioned again and again, if you need help, there will be social workers to aid you. And that is why the government and Mr. Lee Kuan Yew himself is always emphasizing on education. Not that without a degree, you are nothing. There are definitely talented people who didn't study and look, they are actually earning big bucks. But can you ensure that you will be one of those? One thing that I am very thankful today is that Lee Kuan Yew gives a chance to everybody in Singapore, regardless of your race, language, or religion, your family background. Whether you're poor or rich, you will have a chance to go through education. If you cannot afford, there will always be assistance schemes like the MOE FAS, known as the Financial Aid Assistance, which allows students to have free textbooks, uniforms. And education is not something that only the rich can afford. Anyone can have it too. And for that, everyone has a chance to be educated and ensure themselves a better future and job. Back to healthcare. Do you know that there is actually something called the PG card meant for our pioneer generation? Some of them don't even have to pay a single cent when they visit the doctor. And the CHAS card that actually subsidize your trips to private clinics as well. And MediSave. Do you know? And what is the purpose of having polyclinics all around Singapore? Is to actually ensure that citizens have cheaper healthcare. And more help will actually be given to those who actually cannot pay. And regarding the taxes being so high, if you actually ask where do the money go to, I would say education, defense, basically government's expenditure to help the country. Do you know how much does one rifle, military tank, or aeroplanes used in war actually cost? Why are we emphasizing so much on defense? Singapore is a very, very, very small country. In fact, our name on the world map is actually bigger than the dot on the map. If we don't defend Singapore, who will? As our NE messages said, we must ourselves defend Singapore. Singapore is a safe and peaceful country now, but we will never ever know if there will be terrorist attacks or wars happening in the future. And what if we are unprepared? We will lose everything. I would love to see what the government are spending on also, but I don't think there's any chance that you will be able to find any corruptions also, as we have one of the best leaders who do not corrupt at all. And there's actually a CPIV investigation place that they actually will investigate on those they actually suspect of accepting bribes, being corrupt. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong with your evidence if you want to. Money and status equals to happiness. That's just what you think that what Mr. Lee Kuan Yew taught. Actually, it's pretty true to some people, but then again, has Lee Kuan Yew said it himself? No. I wouldn't argue further because I'm actually wasting my time to a person like you. I know I'm contradicting myself when I'm actually making this video, but I really felt that I need to do so. There are actually people who criticize you by just watching the comments, you know, and maybe some of them watched the video halfway and they couldn't stand you already. But I watched everything and here's what I have to say. And no, I won't criticize you for your hairstyle, for your accent, because, you know, these are not the main points. I believe a good argument does not need to consist of vulgarities and words that are offensive. You had a talent for speaking, but you're not using it to help people, but to create conflicts against one another. Especially during this period of time, what you have today, your house, your education, is because of what Mr. Lee Kuan Yew did 50 years ago. Many Singaporeans have queued more than 8 hours just to see him for the last time. They did not complain at all. Even foreigners, permanent residents, people who heard about him, admired him, that's why they went to see him for the last time. Why can't you appreciate it all? I wouldn't ask you to go anywhere, but then give up your citizenship if you're not proud to be here. There are tons of people who are waiting to be a citizen of Singapore, and you are taking it for granted. Sometimes, there are things that the government do that we do not understand at all. We complain, we frustrate, but at the end of the day, it is for the nation's good. Who are you to say that they aren't doing anything? Are you a minister who has been involved or someone who has been involved in any parties? No. Unless you have been there, don't ever speak like as if you know what are their actions. Actually, you could have been a great opposition party speaker, but with that attitude, rudeness that I see from you, I'm sorry, you can't. Words said can't be taken back. You should be responsible for your own words. And please, learn to respect the deceased. That was the longest 8 minutes of my life to watch that video. I am nobody to call you names, but I have 3 words specially for you. Shame on you.